Hello, my name's Frankie and I am delighted to welcome you today to AIPH's Green City Briefing series. We have a wonderful webinar ahead of us, but first, could I thank our sponsors, Expo 2023 Doha, Qatar, and the Worshipful Company of Gardeners for their continued support in this series. Now it is my absolute privilege to introduce today's MC, Dominic Regester. He is the Director of Education and the Director for the Centre of Educational Transformation at the Salzburg Global Center. He is responsible for designing and implementing programmes on the future of education, with a particular focus on the social and emotional learning, education leadership, regeneration education, and education transformation. So we could not have a better host for today. Thank you very much, and please may I hand over to you.
Thank you, Frankie, and welcome everyone to the Living Green for Social Cohesion dialogue today. So as Frankie said, my name is Dominic Regester. I'm the Director of Education at Salzburg Global Seminar. We're a non-profit organisation based in Salzburg in Austria. We were founded 76 years ago, and our core mission across all the work that we do is to challenge current and future leaders to shape a better world. We have 5 programme priority areas. We do work in culture, work in health, work in peace and justice, work in finance and governance, and work in education. And as Frankie said, we've recently set up the Centre for Education Transformation to bring all of our different education activities under one banner. And one of our key themes for education, which relates very closely to today's webinar, and is how I've had the opportunity and privilege of hearing Heidi and Raphaëlle speak in the past, is a focus on regenerative or climate education. So today's webinar is going to showcase the role of schoolyards in becoming transformative spaces for climate-ready cities with cohesive communities. And this is incredibly well-timed, coming as it does just the day after the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report that came out yesterday, and which has said it is still possible to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees, but that the next decade is going to be absolutely crucial. And so the kind of behaviours, the experiences that we can offer to school-age children is going to be vital in driving the kind of behaviour change, which is going to be absolutely necessary if we are to meet that target. And now, as I said, I've been lucky enough to hear both Heidi and Raphaëlle speak before, because along with AIPH and many other partners, we all collaborate on a project looking at global lessons for greening school grounds. And Heidi actually spoke at the launch of that event back in November 2021. And so it's going to be exciting to hear an update from her as to how the Evergreen work is evolving. So Heidi is a design professional with Evergreen Canada. She specializes in participatory planning and design approaches for healthy, inclusive neighborhoods. Evergreen is a national charity that helps build flourishing cities, and Heidi leads the iterative placemaking processes which engage the public in realizing vibrant, resilient spaces for their communities. She has 2 decades of experience planning and designing school grounds, and has authored several green standards and guideline documents with school boards across Canada, most notably Landscape and Child Development, a guide for early years kindergarten play learning environments, and her most recent publication, The Power of Play, Child-Led Placemaking in Parks in the City at Eye Level for Kids, that places children at the centre of a city's park planning process. So Heidi is going to be talking today about the principles of creating inclusive play environments, and then Evergreen's Climate Ready Schools initiative. She'll speak for about 15 minutes. Unfortunately, as Frankie said, she won't be able to stay for the Q&A, but after Heidi's presentation, I'll then introduce the second speaker, Raphaëlle Thiollier. Raphaëlle will speak for about 15 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A. And if questions come to mind, particularly during Raphaëlle's presentation, or general questions, then please put them in the Q&A, and any questions for Heidi will be picked up through the forum after today's event. So without further ado, it's an enormous pleasure to introduce Heidi Campbell to the stage, and really looking forward to hear your presentation. So Heidi, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Dominic, for this lovely introduction. I'm so excited to be here. And I know we don't have much time to really cover a great deal of this project that I'm going to share with you. So at the very end, I do have a link that you can follow. And you can read our new case study and watch our new video. So I'll just share my screen and get started. So here we go. I'm going to be talking to you about climate ready schools in 15 minutes. So hang on, fasten your seatbelts. I'd like to first start with a land acknowledgement. So the sacred lands upon which we operate and the built communities and cities across the country are the traditional territories, homelands, and Nunavut of the respective First Nations, Métis Nations, and Inuit, who are the longtime stewards of these lands. These are occupied lands and subject to inherent rights, covenants, treaties, and self-government agreements to peaceably share and care for the lands and resources across Turtle Island. These regions are still home to diverse Indigenous peoples, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these lands. A quick overview of Evergreen is a leader in placemaking and urban sustainability. We've been in practice for over 30 years. And we've been facilitating change in communities through connection, innovation, sustainable actions. We work with community builders and partners across sectors to solve some of the most pressing issues cities face, climate change, along with access to nature and public spaces. My work has been predominantly in the area of school grounds. And since 2000, we've had a program called Evergreen Learning Grounds that has achieved many things across our country. So these are just a few of the stats. We've serviced over 6,000 schools, so worked collaboratively with them in a participatory design process. And we've given out grants. And of course, we've struck partnerships with school boards in many of the provinces. At one point, we had 18 partnerships. So out of this legacy of work came our Climate Ready Schools pilot. And our Climate Ready Schools is Irma Coulson Public School. And this project basically is looking at turning a whole school ground into a nature-rich sponge environment that soaks up lots of stormwater. This community is faced with intense flooding, and they do have green space, but they don't have a lot of publicly accessible green space. So we hold the view that public school grounds are valuable assets with potential to have a positive influence on student development, physical and mental health, as well as learning and social behavior. Additionally, school grounds represent significant public land holdings that have enormous potential to positively impact education, health, and well-being, and to mitigate the impacts of a changing climate by cooling sites with shade and managing stormwater. However, there are very few of these examples in Canada that have realized this potential. Climate Ready Schools employs innovations in design, construction, community engagement, and professional development to produce a broad suite of benefits for students, communities, and the environment. Climate Ready Schools raises the bar on school ground design, management, and outdoor play and learning in Canada, and sets the stage for change at scale. With public schools in almost every neighborhood across the country, the potential to positively impact every community is significant. So the pilot took place at Irma Coulson in Milton, Ontario, Canada. Irma Coulson is a kindergarten to grade 8 school with over 1,000 students in the Halton District School Board, and the project began in 2020. Construction was completed in 2022. The Irma Coulson pilot design team paired leading internationally recognized design talent Birgit Teichmann from Berlin, Germany, with seasoned Canadian landscape architect Gina Brower. Beyond the key professionals, community participation from staff, students, and the Milton community was central to the development of the design. Through a climate adaptive lens, the concept design drew inspiration for Berlin's sponge school strategy, a citywide effort to create heat adaptive and water sensitive school grounds. Through a child development and outdoor learning lens, the concept drew on numerous school ground greening projects in Canada that Evergreen has supported since the mid-90s. The environmental impact and the transferability of the design concept were both strong considerations, emphasizing native species of plants, regionally sourced materials, and low-tech solutions. Some of the design principles that I wanted to share with you today are listed here. The importance of reflecting the community to ensure community participation and ownership. We ensure that space is a reflection of the community's vision, hopes, and needs. There's no one size fits all. Every school deserves a tailor-made plan. Using site potential. Just as every community is different, so is every site. Whether due to topography, region, soil, and a host of other factors, design needs to accommodate and capitalize on the unique strengths of their site. Create a welcoming space. Vast expanses of asphalt give a clear message. This space is not inviting for humans. With each school design, we will aspire to make spaces that invite people in and accommodate their needs. Rather than off-limit space, we want grounds to be inviting and comfortable for students and the community. Respecting the ecology of the landscape. Grounds are used by school communities and their natural communities. Designs need to reflect the plant and animal life endemic to each space and include native flowers, shrubs, and trees. And at last, emphasizing a low-tech approach. While some engineered materials like porous pavers may be necessary, climate-ready schools can be remarkably effective by using nature as their guide. Low-cost and easily accessible materials can be a major support for water absorption and make for a restoring and inviting atmosphere. Some of our priority areas were that were key to guiding the design were resilient infrastructure, child development, outdoor learning, community use, and participation. Again, a strong lens on the environment and looking through the lens of the sponge school strategy that was applied in Berlin, Germany, making these spaces heat adaptive and water sensitive, very important in our design process. Again, emphasizing education and inclusivity, looking at spaces for activity and movement, recognizing that we needed spaces for recreation and relaxation, different interests and needs, and for outdoor learning. So these were key drivers. Community engagement was particularly at the center of the process, of course, and at the center of that process are the children. And so we really try very hard to bring in a child-friendly process and actually train and build the capacity of educators to do this work. We did a lot of engagement with the community, in particular, the school community, and they were involved in multiple points during the design process. But just as the project was about to break ground, all in-person activities were canceled because of COVID-19. As a result, all in-person events were reconceived into a variety of educational media, as well as interactive events online. Evergreen's design approach invited and embraced the input from the school community, including the students. One of the necessary shifts was to guide the teachers, rather than the design team, in the gathering of information from students to influence the design. We also walked with students on the site, and that inspired video, storytelling, as well as drawing and written exercises that provided really valuable input. Other complementary pieces to the design process included regular content in the school newsletter, parent-teacher meetings, and a 4-part podcast series. The podcasts were produced by education podcaster Stephen Hurley, who's also a parent of a child at the school. These pieces came together in a regular flow of information and dialogue that were central to creating the conditions for the innovative project on Irma Coulson's school ground. Of course, we were also thinking about cultivating this culture of care. And this was happening before, during, and after construction, engaging all of the educators in a series of educational activities and trainings that they then transferred to their practice, and got their students out on the school grounds in early days of the construction to plant some of the large berms that were designed on the site. So here's a picture of the master plan. It's quite extensive. Not all of it was realized, as we priced it, it became very apparent that we couldn't implement the whole thing. So we came up with an implementation plan. And I just want to share with you some of the images. This is a panoramic of the site and some of the discrete little elements that we brought into the design. Really, really important that we listen to the children. They wanted places to climb, they wanted sliding, places to socialize, and lots of pathways for walking. So we did quite a bit of circulation planning. One of the major pieces and strategies of this project was the evaluation. And this brings out also some really important information around how students were engaging with the site, because now that the site is implemented, we've been doing some what we call, I guess, technically behavior mapping, but we can't really use the word behavior when we're talking with educators and parents because they get a little bit excited about that word. So we changed to student engagement. And so there's some great results, and you can read about those in the case study. Also in the case study will be results around tree canopy cover and this biotope area factor tool that is used also in Berlin in their planning departments. So I just want to end with, you can learn more about this project. We've just recently updated our webpage, and we have, again, an extensive case study and an accompanying video. And this is what we're taking out to other school boards across Canada now to see if we can really raise the bar on the design of school grounds in Canada and get people excited about the Climate Ready Schools program. So thank you for your attention today.
A fantastic and inspirational project in many, many ways. One of the things I was really struck by when you were talking was how in sync this specific initiative is with so many other really powerful trends in education reform or education transformation at the moment. So, the importance of the change or the innovation being absolutely authentic to local needs and local identity comes through very strongly. I think the importance of a whole school approach and involving the students, so bringing in that kind of intergenerational dimension to decision making and design about the future of the learning environment, the way in which that strengthens a sense of identity with the place of learning. And there's all sorts of really powerful and compelling emerging research that shows how that connection with the place where learning happens reinforces learning outcomes. And then the emphasis on collaboration and partnership and bringing in different community voices and showing the school as being absolutely embedded within the community rather than detached from it. So yeah, what a fantastic case study. Thank you very much for all of that. And I'm certain that there will be questions for you, but as I said, these will come through the forum. And then thank you on behalf of AIPH for the agreement to follow up and answer questions after this event.
Thank you very much, Dominic.
And good luck with the meeting. It's now an enormous pleasure to bring our second presenter today onto the stage. So Raphaëlle Thiollier is the Oasis project manager in the city of Paris in France. She's worked for Paris since 2009. She is passionate about education, nature, and ecological transition. She was a member of the Parisian Resilience team from 2019 to 2021. And since March of 2021, she's been a services designer on school architecture, as well as the Oasis Schoolyards project manager. And she works for the education department of the city of Paris. Oasis as a project was launched in 2018 and is supported by Paris. It seeks to transform existing outdoor spaces through renewing and greening all 770 schoolyards in Paris by 2050. This includes active work in community cohesion improvement, which is achieved by providing local community with free access to schoolyards as they are transformed each Saturday. As of December 2021, I'm sorry, I don't have a more up-to-date or recent update, but from December, as of December 2021, about 10% of the schoolyards in Paris have been transformed. So Raphaëlle, it's an enormous pleasure to welcome you. Really excited to hear from you. This is an amazing initiative, which is rightly attracting a lot of global attention. And Raphaëlle will speak for about 15 minutes, and then we'll have time for Q&A and discussion. So welcome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. I will share my screen. Okay, so as I said, you can see two different types of schoolyards. And so I begin with this picture where you have two schools, one transformed and the other which is not. Because to show you the different kind of atmosphere we want to create with the Oasis Schoolyard project in Paris. And I usually quote the American pedagogist Richard Louv, that maybe you are aware of, which is who is writing on the lack of nature disorder for children. And speaking about the schoolyard, he's saying that in traditional ones with a concrete ground and no amenities, no playful amenities, among the children and the social group of the children, the one who are the more popular in the children, within the group of the children, are the eldest boys, because they are running faster and jumping high and do a lot of things in terms of physical development. And so in the other schoolyard, in natural playful areas, the children who are the more popular are the children who are able to create new games, to invent stories, to have cooperation activities. And so our idea in Paris is the fact that transforming a schoolyard is really a society issue, society matter. We really have to do something in terms of climate change adaptation, of course, but also in terms of social interaction we want to create between the children within in the schoolyard. So it's really important to have that in mind. That it's really a society issue, and we have to choose what kind of environment we want to have for our children during the day, because they are spending a lot of time in the schoolyards. So about the Oasis context in Paris, the Oasis project is part of several plans in Paris, because we want to adapt our city. So we have a climate plan, and the Oasis project is contributing to have a more natural and green city. It's also, and it's the origin of the project, it's part of the resilience strategy of Paris, which was written in 2018, 16, sorry. And it was during the writing of the resilience strategy that we decided to transform the schoolyards in Paris. And so it's one of the action of the resilience strategy. The idea of the resilience strategy is to adapt Paris to face the challenges that we will have to face, that we are still already facing now in Paris. And we also had the opportunity to be part of a call led by the European Union, a call called Urban Innovative Action. It's a program of the European Regional Development Fund. And it was very useful for the Oasis project to be part of that call and to develop many, many tools thanks to that EU money. So why did we choose to change the schoolyard? It's, as I said, children spend a lot of time during the day in the schoolyards, about 3 hours a day. So it's a long time for them, and it's really important that that time should be very useful for them and for their development. So that's also why we want to choose our schoolyard. And as you can see here, many schoolyards in Paris that are not transformed are looking like the first picture. So as you can see, some trees, a concrete ground, very plain and empty, and not a lot of things to do except for football areas, of course. And so this kind of space is contributing to the urban heat island effect, and also to heat the city during summer. So we have to do something. And also it's an impervious ground, so you cannot manage in good ways the rainwater. So we have to do something in terms of urban adaptation to climate change. And also, we also choose schoolyards because there are very well-known public equipments in the city of Paris. We have more than 700 in Paris, and they are all around Paris. The total surface of the schoolyard is representing about 10% of the Bois de Boulogne, the wood near to Paris. So it's a lot of space. Of space, and everybody know a schoolyard, because if you are living in Paris, you cannot live far from um, uh, um, 250 meters from a schoolyard, because there is schoolyards everywhere in Paris, and you Parisian really know where schoolyards are, because in France you are going to vote in the schools, and if you have children you are going to let them go to the school. So it's a very well-known public equipment. That's also why it was important to transform them and to open them to the public during weekend. Here you have the goals of the project. First of all, the idea is really to increase well-being for everybody, but above all for children who are spending a lot of time in the schoolyards. And that's it. And so one of the goals is also to have more accessible nature for all during the week, during the weekend, the Saturday for the Parisians, and have a more natural city and pleasant city for that. And it's also a project that is trying to engage citizens, because I will talk about that later, but we have a co-design phase with children in the beginning of the project. And we also want people to be involved for the during the openings of the schoolyard during weekend. They can propose some activities, parents can propose some activities, and local NGOs and NPOs can be involved in a collective and local animation life in the schoolyards. And of course I said that, but the idea is to have more climate adaptive and cooler schoolyards. You have here the project's evolution from the beginning, so the writing of the resilience strategy of Paris, and after that the transformation. As you can see, we have a kind of a progression in the project. The first schoolyard were looking really like the former ones, but the ground was pervious and we had more vegetation than before, but it was still kind of the same type of schoolyard. But year after year we are trying to adapt them more to what we want to have. And thanks to the Urban Innovative Action Project, thanks to the EU fund, we transformed 10 schoolyards in Paris. But we had the chance to have many time and resources to create some tools to think about the methodology we wanted to have for the transformation, and also to have a very important moment, a decisive one, the study tour we had in Belgium in 2019. Very important. It was 3 days, but so helpful and important for the transformation in Paris after that, because we were 50 participating to this study tour with school principals and head of the education department in Paris, and our technical department as well. And we came back all convinced about what we had to do, and the fact that it was so important to have a more natural schoolyard in Paris. So it was very important. And today we have about 100 schoolyard transformed in Paris. You have the numbers under the picture for each year. And we are preparing about 30 schoolyards for next summer to transform them into oases. Sorry, about the European Union. So I said it was concerning 10 schools, and it was us, the city of Paris, plus 5 partners who help us. One of them is the Council of Architecture, Urbanism and Environment, architects and landscaper working with us. It's an NGO working with us for the co-design phase and a lot of other very interesting and transformation issues. And we also had the chance to have 2 laboratories working with us on the results and the observation and post and after before and after transformation in terms of social matter, but also in terms of climatic evaluation. And all the deliverables are now available for this project, and you can download them from our website and ask about different question you can have. You can see here the workshops we are organizing with children in the beginning of the project, thanks to the architects we are working with. And so the idea is to consult and know more about what the children want to do in their schoolyard, to let them also understand the possibilities and what they want, and also why we have to transform the schoolyard. And it's very important to start from their ideas, because many things are said by them that won't have been said by everybody else. So it's really important to take them ideas to account. You can see, maybe I have to speed a little bit. So you have here the kind of map we are creating thanks to the children IDs, and after that the meetings we have with with the adults of the schools. And here you have our kind of principles we want to have when we create a new schoolyard: have diversified spaces, to have more nature, to deal with rainwater, more playful activities. And you can find a lot of details in our recommendation booklet, which is available in English as well, so you can download it and have many of more detailed things about the transformation. And here I will just show you some pictures and be less more quiet, sorry. So here you have also the weather station we implemented to have measurement before and after transformation. And the idea to have a more green space. The idea is also to create kind of a green framework throughout Paris, to have biodiversity spaces for insects or birds to have place to eat and to rest. So it's really part of that plan for biodiversity in Paris as well. And also a way, of course, to strengthen the links between children and nature on daily basis. And so the idea is to create natural environment for them, for play, for having this, on daily basis contact with nature. And it's also a bet on the future and hoping that children will be the best protectors for nature later, if they have the habit to be in contact with nature every day. It's also a way to have a balance and harmonious child development in terms of motor skills, but also social skills and creation and a lot of needs they have, and that the traditional schoolyard are not providing for them. You have also feedbacks we have about schoolyard, that children are more and more occupied in the schoolyard, not occupied, sorry, they have things to do in the schoolyard, and you have a more peaceful atmosphere in this type of schoolyard. It's also a way to promote free play and have several activities to do. It's also, this project have a lot of co-benefits. It's the fact that with the same project you can have many goals, and it's a really a positive project, because it's also a way to deal with and to tackle gender issue, and have spaces that are more shared by everyone, and girls have more space to play. Teachers are also using this schoolyard to do outdoor learning, which is something quite new in France and in Paris. And to be very quick, we still have a lot of challenges and perspective today, because the project is not over. As I said, we transform 100 schoolyard, but we have more than 600 to transform yet. So it's not over. We still have a long journey, but it's very an exciting journey. But it's a matter of change for a lot of things. Our engineer needs to think differently. Our educators need to think differently. The maintenance is a very important issue. One of our ideas is to involve a lot of children in this type of tasks, which is something not at all done in France. Children are not at all involved in the maintenance of the school, which is something that we can, that is not a good thing, and we want to try to change that. We also have a maintenance guide, which is available in English if needed. And also because we have still a lot of schoolyard to transform, we want to keep the same ambition of these natural playgrounds for children. But it's a struggle because we have a lot of people that consider that it will be easier to do in the usual way, and to not change their habits. Still have a lot of people to convince, but it's once again it's very exciting to do that. And also we have the weekends opening. Not all the Oasis schoolyard are open, but a lot of them are, and maybe it's something we want to continue to do, and to increase the number of open schoolyard during weekends. But yeah, it's not the end of the journey, as I said. And just to finish very quickly, what I hope with this project, and what we hope in Paris, is the fact that thanks to this new kind of area where the children are spending a lot of time and playing every day, we really hope to build a new generation and have later adults that are very more close to nature and want to protect our planet, because we need some this kind of adults, I think. Thank you.
Raphaëlle, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. Indeed. I wonder if I could start with a question of my own, if that's okay. And for people in the audience, please do feel free to follow Sarah's excellent example and post questions in the Q&A, and we'll try and get through as many of them as possible. But Raphaëlle, I'm really interested in the kind of political economy around this big project, because the timescale for it is it's to 2050, isn't it? Is the ambition? Is that right? That every school. And so, did you have to do a lot of work, or did the project team have to do a lot of work before the launch to build cross-party support, so that it isn't linked to a particular political cycle, and that it doesn't matter to a certain extent who the mayor of Paris is or who's in charge, because there's going to be a long-term commitment to this?
Yeah, it's a question. I think one of the strengths of the project is the fact that it's kind of consensual in this idea, because everybody wants children to have more pleasant place to be. And we have an agreement on the project. What is more complicated, it's the specificity of the transformation, what kind of material we would use. So we still have to convince people in the administration. We still have politicians to convince, but I think the general idea is consensual. And also today in France, a lot of cities are transforming their schoolyard. Almost, not all, of course, but we have, I don't know, we had more than 400 contacts with other cities. All the big cities in France are transforming their schoolyard. So, and cities from all political.
But you've muted, Raphaëlle. Sorry, you were mid-sentence. You're saying that more than 400 other cities.
Yeah, contacted us. To have information about the project. And all big cities in France today have schoolyard transformation projects, and they're not are all on the same political board. So I think I think it's quite a kind of a current issue project, if I can say so. I hope it will last. And yeah.
That's fantastic that there's been, you know, the kind of big spike in interest from other cities across the country. I should have said at the beginning as well, congratulations on winning the AIPH World Green City Award last year. And I wondered, you know, did that kind of recognition, did that help spark more interest from other Parisian cities or internationally?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, of course. And yeah, thank you again, because it's really important for us to have that kind of recognition and yes, to have visibility for the Oasis project. But we have a lot of requests from a lot of countries and cities. So I think the project itself has its own, I don't know, attraction, and so I think it's a sign that the fact it's something that is really a society matter and something that is really important today. So
yeah, and you sort of hope that very soon, when those kind of quality of life indexes are produced by organizations like the Economist Intelligence Unit does an annual kind of livability city ranking, that the sort of presence of green school grounds is going to be one of the indicators that makes a place more desirable to move to. I thought you had a fantastic section in the presentation about the sort of advocacy around this topic, and how, you know, by investing in green school grounds, you're also creating a better play environment, and that has implications for children's behavior and the importance of free play, and then the behavior and the speed with which children return to a kind of the right mindset for wanting to learn in the classroom. There's the health and well-being benefits. There's obviously the climate resilience and biodiversity. There's the education outcomes you talked about. How important this kind of schoolyard is for developing children's sense of creativity, but then also pro-social behaviors, or the kind of social and emotional skills, and then also the community engagement. So that they're all such powerful advocacy arguments. In the work that we've been able to do together, we've also tried to showcase some of those in the statement that we put out for greening school grounds and outdoor learning. But I wondered, in the Parisian context, are you arguing for all 5 of them simultaneously, or do you find that certain advocacy positions get more traction with politicians, and some get more traction with parents, and some get more traction with the local community? How does that work?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you well, the end of the question, sorry.
Oh, excuse me. So do you find that certain, when you look at the different advocacy, the different arguments for green school grounds, do you find some arguments work better with different audiences than others? Like if you're talking to the city leadership, it's particularly the climate argument. If you're talking to parents, it's particularly health and well-being.
I think, we are trying to use the right argument with the right audience, of course, but I think the well-being for children is something that everybody cares about, and it's a good thing. But what we are also trying to reach sometimes also with our engineers is their own childhood memories, and the fact that they maybe have some experience of outdoor leisure and outdoor experiences that were important for them. And we also want to read that to say that it's important. And remember, it was also interesting because you could have take some risks. You could take some risks, and you could be in contact with nature. So remember that, and really, do you want us to provide that for your child now? And it's kind of a powerful also argument and tool to try to reach the childhood memories.
I think you mentioned Richard Louv at the very beginning, and he talks about that in his book. Is it Last Child in the Woods or something like that, isn't it?
I think.
I would love to talk a little bit about the community engagement aspect of the project, because in some ways that's similar to Heidi's project before, that's one of the more radical elements, I think. And so have you found that relationships between local residents and the school have changed as a result of this project? You know, do people take advantage of the Saturday opening to come into the school, or is that more parents and students at the school together?
It depends on the neighborhoods and the schools, but we have some residents that were very happy to go back to school. Also, elderly people. It was very nice story, because we had the elderly man that said that it was the first time he went to school since it's his own childhood. So it was very nice, because schools in Paris are really closed, if not because of security issues or COVID in last year. So it was really interesting to open them. And in some neighborhood we also have a lot of tourists, so it's quite an interesting place to meet and to gather several people. So in some areas we have really involved residents in the schools. And also concerning in some schools, in terms of maintenance during summer, for example, we have people that are local NPO that are involved in the watering the plants, for example. So very interesting in terms of local life.
And what, when local community come into the school grounds at the weekends, what do they use them for? You know, is it to have the walk in nature and be in a green environment, or do children who don't go to the school come into play, or in some picnic?
It depends also on the schools. We also have local NGO that are involved in animations. So sometimes you have some, I don't know, yoga activity or first aid scoring activity, a lot of different types of things. So people come also to have some activity and or workshops, for example. But they also just came to rest and have a quiet space, not in the streets, because Paris is a very dense and intense city. So it's, and also to, for example, learn to do some skateboard or things like that you cannot do in some parks or in the streets with the same safety. So it's very interesting to see different types of activities that people are doing in the schoolyard.
You mentioned tourists coming in. I wanted to ask about the Olympics next year, and whether there is a connection, or whether you'll be able to open up more school grounds, or there'd be a green school tour for people coming to the Olympics or something.
It's not planned yet, but let's think about it. Now, what we are doing is also think about the sports and different kind of sport we can propose in the schoolyard as well, because as I said, we usually have football area, but that's all. So the Oasis transformation is also a way to think about girls and sport, for example, and what kind of different sports activity we can provide in the schools. So it's very interesting. We are thinking about that with our sports teacher and many partners of the Olympics to find a way to promote motor skills and physical activity through the schoolyards.
When you think about the kind of aspiration of the Olympic legacy, having more outdoor play and sports.
Exactly, and we are lacking of sports infrastructures in Paris, so we need to combine all the projects.
You talked, when you were talking about the kind of activities that community members might look to do in the school, I thought there was a lot of connection around activities that promote well-being. And I wanted to sort of bring in Sarah's question that was in the Q&A, and Sarah asked specifically about the role that green school grounds might play in calling for a healthy natural life for all. And she was thinking specifically about how they might help children affected by armed conflict. But that might not be quite so relevant in the Parisian context, but whether you have a particular strategy in terms of which schools get their grounds developed first, and are you targeting more social areas with more social economic challenges, or poorer parts of the city, or areas that have less green density? Anyway, and is there a kind of connection between efforts to promote well-being and more opportunities for children who aren't growing up in those environments?
Yeah, our selection of schools here, the result of our, how can I say that, multiple criteria process. So it's not so easy, but yes, we are trying to have, of course, schools in the deprived areas in Paris. And yeah, I think it's a good answer for children that are exposed to violence, of course, having a peaceful place, and also we really have these feedbacks on the fact that oasis schoolyards are reducing the conflicts between children, because they are less bored, they have a lot of things to do, there is more cooperation, more imaginative games, and so it's really a way to struggle against violence and to increase well-being.
I've seen in the English context a report that looked at the connection between outdoor play and reduction in bullying in schools as a kind of similar example for that. Well, it was a fantastic presentation. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to prepare it and share it with us all today. And it's a wonderful initiative. So good luck with the next 90% in the years ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So Frankie, can I hand back to you to close this out? And thank you again to everyone who's joined and for the opportunity to host the conversation.
Thank you ever so much, Dominic. Again, absolutely brilliant, and an interesting reflection there on how we share knowledge and achievements to develop fostering environments for those of all ages and from different areas. Thank you to our speakers, Heidi and Raphaëlle, and to Dominic for his excellent emceeing today. The results of the poll showed that our knowledge is actually quite equally split across the audiences here, with all three categories tying. And I just think that's a lovely way to show how we have shared learning across our own knowledge and development. I would like to thank the sponsors, the Worshipful Company of Gardeners and Expo 2023 Doha. Our next briefing is on the 11th of April at 1 until 2, but that will be British summertime, for we will have entered summer by then. And we'll be focused on living green for biodiversity with a case study from Bogota, Colombia. So please do join us then. But until then, join the discussion on the AIPH Green City Forum, follow us on Twitter, and sign up for our Global City Green City Update, where we are showcasing the power of plants in creating resilient cities. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us wherever you are across the world. And I'm pleased now to close today's webinar.
You are a seed. The beginning of a new awareness, a new global movement. You have life in you. Share it, spread it, bring your thoughts and skills. Make it all fruitful. Tomorrow brings challenges and opportunities. Grow. Grow the resources to embrace science and experience for global sustainability. Grow the tools and use technology to cultivate a new and better future together. Grow the knowledge to reconnect to nature and promote a greener development. Grow the balance between local and global, planet and people, today and tomorrow. Growth starts with you. Welcome to Expo 2023, Doha, Qatar. Qatar has the perfect conditions for this growth to take roots. From Doha, we can grow a green desert and a better environment. Our expo site consists of 3 main areas designed to host, gather, and inspire. Together we can sow the days of tomorrow for everyone to enjoy, everywhere. We are expecting you on the 2nd of October 2023. One expo site, consisting of 3 character areas, is growing now to welcome you in 2023 to the future of horticulture. You are the seed and the movement that will gather the world in Qatar. Together in Doha, we will grow a green desert for a better environment.